Well, we are going young today. The young guns are in here. We got Mr. Colton Cohea coming to us from his office down deep in South Texas, and we've got cameraman extraordinary Andy Macdonald coming to us from South Africa. Gentlemen, good morning. How's everybody?
Morning, Dave. It's great down here, man. The weather's beautiful.
Hey, Dave.
And I'm ready to talk hunting.
Well, we are going to talk hunting, and you know, Colton, last year you got to go, that was your first safari to Tanzania, correct?
Yes, sir. First time out of South Africa, so second time in Africa.
Second time in Africa, and of course you did what nearly everybody that ever comes to Africa dreams of doing, and you wanted to hunt Cape buffalo. Now, Tanzania is a damn good place to hunt buffalo, but you guys were there in kind of late season, and I just remembered you battled and you struggled. The wind, every time I felt so bad for you. Every time you went in there on buffalo, the wind busted you, and you only had a short window. Jay was hunting 21 days. He was hunting elephant, but you came in there for a 10-day hunt, and you left without a buffalo. But look, you did get some other great stuff. I remember you shot a really great sable up there and a couple of other really nice prizes. Still a very, very successful safari, but you did leave Tanzania without a buffalo.
It was, and it left me hungry. It humbled me. But the sable was really the cherry on top of that safari.
Let's take a look at that. And boy, sable's no consolation prize, I promise you. They're a wonderful trophy on their own.
I tell you what, the thing I think I enjoyed most about this was that shot, Dave. As you can see, really, really trying to thread a needle there, and done with the 460 Weatherby, just like that.
yeah.
I don't know how you guys shoot that rifle so well, Colton. Man, that is, that was a great sable there.
Yeah, that is, and sable to me is just one of Africa's. They're a glamour. They're not just plains game. They're a glamour game, and taking one of those is great. And you took some other great stuff. And I think, Colton, it's really. I want to set this up a little bit so people really know a little bit about Colton. I mean, you have been hunting since you were born. I've seen a lot, your dad's so proud of you, and I've seen pictures of you in diapers and stuff with BB guns, and you grew up in great hunting country in South Texas. You've grown up with a rifle in your hand.
Yes, sir. And it started out with just hogs. So chasing hogs around with dogs, and then graduating to bigger stuff, getting some big whitetail on the wall, going to mule deer, aoudad. So I've been fortunate enough to now make it out to Africa and chase the big game. So,
well, speaking of hunting, now today we're going to be hunting for big game, tuskless elephant, and you're back on your second trip for Cape buffalo. We're hunting with Charlton McCallum safaris, and down in the lower Zambezi. And Andy, I know you agree with me, and every professional hunter you'll ever ask, what's the most dangerous thing that you hunt? And most of them will say, well, it's probably two. It may be lion or it may be bull elephant, but everybody will include female elephant and tuskless on that list. That is it's a dangerous hunt.
Dave, I agree 100%. And the thing that makes them even worse is when there's a calf with them. Cow elephant are aggressive enough on their own when they're just by themselves. But as soon as you add a little one next to mom, that's when it becomes a whole a whole different story. You know, you may get away with them catching your wind or something if it's just a herd of cows on their own. But if there's a couple of small ones in there, it can become a very dangerous situation very quickly. You have to be on full alert and obviously try and keep that wind where you need it to be, or you're going to end up in a situation. And the other thing with hunting the valley, with all these rolling hills, it can just make the terrain and everything a lot more, or a lot harder to deal with in those situations if something like that does happen, if a cow gets your wind.
The FTW SAAM Safari course recreates every hunting and shooting scenario that Africa will throw at you. The dangerous game trail replicates sudden, close-range first and follow-up shot encounters. Life-size plains game targets match the endless range of cover types and shooting opportunities waiting for you on safari. Then there's the famous SAAM Safari life-size charging targets, bearing down on you with speed, because in Africa, charges do happen. And finally, daily classroom training includes spectacular field footage of Africa's most popular game species, where shot angles and bullet placement are highlighted. The SAAM Safari course, situational training like none other. It seemed like you kind of started your safari really in search of Tuskless. Is that right, Colton? I mean, was that kind of the first priority? Now, look, we ought to say, too, you're hunting with Alan Shearing of CMS Safari, and Alan is one of the real veteran hunters of the valley. Besides just being a damn good hunter, he's a really fun guy to be with. But it seemed to me, just watching your footage, Colton, that, you know, he kind of wanted to start right off the bat looking for elephant.
Yeah, and yeah, props to Alan. Like you said, he's an amazing guide, and a pleasure to hunt with. But yeah, we started off. We got there around lunch, and the first evening, we got on a little creek bed, started walking, and he had us on elephant, you know, within the first couple of hours. So he walked me through, okay, this is where you want to aim. Here's where you want to shoot on the skull. And we got in probably within 40 yards. So that was awesome.
Just shows that there's tuskless up in these hills. They hide here. She smelled us. This wind. Yeah. I wonder if
And from there, you know, really the first 2 days we focused on elephant, and then here came the buffalo tracks, and that's when we started kind of, all right, we're chasing elephant, but we're gonna kind of ease off after these buffalo.
Yeah, it seemed like you were knee deep in elephant there for a little bit, and all of a sudden your elephant hunt turned into a buffalo hunt. So
Yeah, and man, like we said, you know, that first 2 days we were in elephant, and then up until day 5 it was kind of a dry spell, and then that's when we really got on the buffalo, and that's when things started picking up there.
What we got?
Well, we found our tracks while we were tracking elephants earlier. One of the other PHs from camp found these tracks and said, hey, there's fresh Duggaboy tracks. So we came up the road. Now we're going to have a quick lunch and take off after them.
now, what was this a herd or just a couple old Duggaboys?
So the buffalo we got on was a herd of Duggaboys. Man, we tracked them for about a half day, kind of bumping them, tracking them, bumping them, tracking them. And then we ended up getting on the bulls right before dark.
looks like it might be a young bull. Another one's watching us. Just go slowly. Let's keep going. Slowly. Just keep your eye on him. If he picks his head up, stop. Come Hey, wait, make sure you shoot the right one. Watch this, give me my gun.
Hey! Which buffalo is it?
I don't know.
He went down.
Okay, watch him. Make sure it's the same one, please. Okay, shoot him then, if you're sure. Yeah, that's him, shoot him. Okay, reload, let's go closer. Let's go closer. Go up onto the ridge. Slowly, he's down. Slowly. Okay, take your time. Yeah, just watch these ones down. Yeah, we're good. Okay, reload, put a soft in, you're good.
Let's get to him.
Okay, come. All right, come, let's go this way. His horns are in the way. That's the one. Woo! Hallelujah, what a day. Well done, guys.
And Andy, you said right before dark, it seemed like buffalo just kind of they just relax a little bit, it seems, in that twilight area. And sometimes if you can get on a stalk late in the day, you got a good chance of getting one, and you are obviously here on the sticks. Oh.
The great thing about this whole deal as well, Dave, is we had been tracking them for a good part of the day, man. We had actually found where these things had bedded down. They had run away from us a couple of times, so we had really been putting in a good effort with these guys. The Mapani flies, I don't know if you saw in that one little clip there where
Fierce.
We were up on the side of the hill, were unbelievable. It was one of the more intense days of Mapani flies that I've actually encountered. And, I'd just like to take a little step back from this, as well as going back to the whole valley vibe. And you can see it in this footage right here. The terrain there really is treacherous. And that was the good thing about, when Jay booked this hunt, and obviously had decided that he wanted Colton to go for elephant and buffaloes, he wanted Colton to do it the right way first time round. And he actually said, and this is just a testament to the valley itself, and, Jay has been over so many different places of Africa, and this is the place he wanted to take his son to hunt these things properly. And yeah, there is no better place to come out and actually hunt for buffalo and for elephant than the Zambezi Valley, in my opinion. I mean, there's the rolling hills here. We had such a good vantage point there. That clip right there, you can see those Mapani flies just going absolutely crazy. And when we actually spotted these guys, we were lucky. It was getting towards the end of the day. After they had got up, they were actually feeding, which really helps. They're making a bit of noise, they're moving. It's not like when they're lying down and they're all facing in all those different directions. One's looking this way, one's looking that way. So what had actually happened here is, in the Dandy, anyone who's ever hunted it will know there are so many different natural springs. And in this particular deal, we had actually followed these bulls. We thought they were going up back towards the road, and we didn't know that this spring was here. And as we came over the rise, the whole group of them were all in that little area about to put their heads down into the spring. So it could not have been a better situation for us. Yeah, man, we really capitalized, and some great shooting there as well with that 460.
Colton, did because before it happens for you, I know so many stalks you made. I remember that show so well from Tanzania, that every time you just seemed like you were getting right in there, it's about to happen, and the damn wind would get you. I mean, were those thoughts going through your mind on this final approach before the sticks went up? Is this going to happen?
So, Dave, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, leading up to this, we had probably got on 5 different groups of bulls, get within 50 yards, thick brush, and then all of a sudden the wind switches or they hear something. So that it's going through my mind. But as Andy alluded to earlier, Dad had been telling me, son, if we can just catch them right before dark, they'll be calm. We'll get up on them. And I was thinking, man, this is that exact situation. And sure enough, we topped that hill and they were just all spread out down there.
And that is a beautiful bull, Colton. I mean, that looks like a Tanzania drop. A lot of the valley bulls don't have that big, deep, but that's one of the deepest bulls shot in Dandy this year.
Thanks, Dave. You're right. It was an amazing experience. I'll never forget.
Yeah, and you may, knowing you and your dad, you'll probably shoot more.
the best thing about it for me, Dave, was actually being there with Jay, being in on the deal, and, you know, just seeing the emotion, seeing the watering of the eyes. Being a dad myself, you know, I can only imagine how special that must have been. And being as avid a hunter as Jay is, I know that was probably one of the most proud moments in his life. And that was, yeah, a very special thing to be able to be and one, capture it, and two, just to share it, you know. I still remember Colton looking up at me as I was shaking his hand, and he looked at me and said, "Man, I thought you guys were lying about this whole deal. Like the buffalo were in fact ghosts, you know."
Yeah.
It was a great moment to be around, man. Anyone's first buffalo, or African species, but especially a buffalo.
Yeah.
They are special.
I've been a fan of the 7mm caliber since my early 20s, and I've used it on a tremendous variety of game around the world. The 7mm PRC has proven to be an exciting development to 7mm shooters who see the advantage of this caliber's high ballistic coefficient, greater velocities, and reduced recoil. All delivered by temperature-stable Magnum speed propellants that assure consistent velocity and longer barrel life. The 7mm PRC is bringing new meaning to the world-recognized Hornady tagline: accurate, deadly, dependable. So, with the buffalo finally headed toward the skinning shed, now you can get back to the biggest of the big game, elephant, and the search for a big tuskless continues. And
Yeah, so this, you know, keep in mind, this is pretty deep into the hunt. We haven't had a lot of success, and we finally came up on this tuskless and made our stock following the tracks. We didn't see any other tracks with her, and then we get close, and Alan looks over and he says, she has a young calf. He said, you know, he kind of talked me through what you look for when the calf's been weaned, and talked me through, you know, kind of the timeline of when the calf can separate from the mom. And it just wasn't a comfortable feeling with that one. So we said, hey, let's let that calf grow a little bit, and we passed on that cow. There was another instance as well, maybe two others, where we found tuskless with young calves. So we were seeing them, we just weren't seeing them alone. So
yeah,
it was day 5 with the buffalo, kind of, you know, gave us some relief, and then by day 7, day 8, we're like, man, we might not make this happen.
Well, you kept getting into, but you were in elephants though. You were in elephants the whole time, and there's a young one, and again,
This was a big herd, yeah, Dave. We had, yeah. So this one this was more of a breeding herd in itself. You know, there were a lot of young bulls in there. I think there were 3 young bulls, and a lot of these were old, big, mature cows. A couple of them were tuskless, but they were juvenile tuskless themselves. You know, they were maybe 3/4 grown. And yeah, being with a guy like Alan, I mean, if it's not the right animal, we will not take the shot, which is fine. You know, that's the way I agree with it.
Now,
yeah, and here, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Colton.
So here was actually our last day, and to me, this was the most elephant action we had the whole trip. As far as, we probably ran into 3 different groups in one day, and we got in them, you know, 40 yards from elephants, had them all around us 3 different times. Wind was perfect, and we're like, man, if we're going to make it happen, today's got to be the day. We hadn't been seeing big groups of elephants. All of a sudden, we were seeing the big groups, and then, you know, we got on some tracks, and before we knew it, it was already getting pretty close to evening time there. Alan kind of threw out there, hey, you know, we've spent this whole hunt tracking. We've, you know, walked dusk till dawn, but we just don't have the time. So now let's cover some mileage and drive, see if we can catch some fresh shine.
We just seen a tuskless running off from the truck. I got The last hour of the last day. See if we can catch her.
Now, before we go to that hunt, I think you moved camps. You moved up north, Andy. It was just because he felt there was more elephant movement closer to the river.
No, we stayed at Maruru.
Oh, you stayed at Maruru. Okay.
Yeah.
But we did
So on
visit.
this,
Well,
we
because
visited Matomo.
okay, that's what I thought, because I knew that you went up there for a while, but you were back at Maruru when you took the elephant.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But what do you think about that camp, Jay?
Man,
Colton.
the camp was just beautiful. Same
I
thing.
meant Colton. I'm thinking of your dad
The camp
because
was,
your dad had been there before and sure wanted you to see that camp.
yeah, it was like no other camp I've ever seen. And the neat part was some of the staff that Dad had met, 10 years ago when he was there in that camp. Some of the staff was still there, so he got to catch up with those guys. He got to introduce them to me, so it was kind of full circle.
Well, I remember when this safari was being put together, your dad just said, it's going to really be cool because, Colton grew up hearing my stories and, coming home and seeing the video and pictures and everything. And to know I'm going to be able to hunt with my son, be shoulder to shoulder with him hunting buffalo and elephants, in one of my favorite places of Africa. I know how special that was to Jay.
It was, and he was pointing out areas, here's where I shot my leopard back in the day, and here's where I shot this, and it was really neat to be a part of.
Yeah, well, I know he enjoyed it. He was on cloud nine when you got back, but so we're ticking down. You're on the last day of your hunt. This is it. And Alan's decided to kind of roll the tires and try to cover some miles, maybe get on some vantage points and see if you can spot a herd. And good things happen sometime on the last day.
You know what the funny thing for this whole deal was, Colton, you cannot forget it, was when we saw those two impala run across the road. And you looked at me and you're like, hey, man, those impala are looking kind of good. This is just before we saw the elephant, man. I think it kind of almost started winding down in your head like, we've given it such a good shot. But, man, those two impala that ran out there are starting to look good.
Yep. That's exactly right. We were in that moment of the safari where it's your last couple hours and it's like, all right, stress is off. I'm just going to take in this last sunset. And we roll around the corner and all of a sudden you see that big gray wall just 90 degrees turn and go.
Again, okay. Just watch the calf again, between the ears. Right, let's go closer.
I remember asking Alan, you think we'll catch up to her? And he said, I think so. She was a tuskless. Let's get in on her and take a look. And within 30 minutes, we could see her back above the trees. And Alan turned around. And he just said, all right, now we're going to just, keep creeping up on her. And eventually she's going to turn around. And when she does, she's going to stop. She's either going to come at us or she's going to be gone. So you got to shoot. And sure enough, man, we got within about 40 yards. And she turned, ears out, kind of nose tilted up. And just like we rehearsed, man, dropped her in her tracks.
And she had a calf that was plenty big enough to mix in with a herd. So that's not a young calf.
Yeah, not at all. Those tusks alone were a telltale sign there, Dave. She's that calf is 100% old enough.
Now I'm not sure if you fired the rifle or it just saw the 460 and fell over.
Well, she felt it. I'll tell you that. And I felt it as well.
Well, that's the thing. That thing smacks on both ends, doesn't it?
It does.
Down she goes. So, and you put in another insurance shot right there. Beautifully done. So now you've got your buffalo in the skinning shed, and you're about to walk up and put your hands on your first elephant. Pretty exciting moment.
Man, it's like no nothing I've ever experienced as far as hunting wise. You can see in the video I'm excited, but it's just a very calming, humbling experience to walk up on an animal like that. You just have, it's just the utmost respect for the animal, and you just kind of stand there and take it in. It's amazing.
Slayer of a buffalo and an elephant in a week. Pushed it to the last minute. We've had a fantastic day though. I mean, we've seen elephant all day long just about.
Well, not only does taking, a tuskless help the management of the overall elephant numbers, which in Zimbabwe, correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, but they have about 35,000 is the carrying capacity of the country, and I believe there's like 80 to 85,000 in the national herd, so they're overpopulated on elephant. So taking animals is part of the management, and the other part of that, Colton, and you discussed it, on the safari, is that meat will go to the communal area, and that's part of the advantage. The rural people support the hunting because they benefit from the hunting, and not just the meat from that massive animal, but the jobs, cooks and camp people and trackers and the guy that makes your bed and pours your shower water and all that.
Yeah. One other very important part to that whole, what's the word I'm looking for, that where they live in harmony with animals and in wild places, is crop destruction. One guy in a subsistence farming environment can plant a year's worth of crops. As they get to the, almost harvesting time, a herd of elephants will come through and destroy an entire year's crop in one night. And obviously, it just gives these communities the incentive to, rather than poisoning, poaching, getting rid of all of the animals, which truly are a big problem for these people. It doesn't just kill them, it starves them out. So having hunting communities there to do non-lethal problem animal control, lethal problem animal control, or otherwise PAC, for otherwise people who don't know what PAC stands for, it's problem animal control. That is a huge part of hunting outfits in the areas that they are looking after.
Yeah, well said.
And Andy, the part that's really interesting to me, and I'm sad that I missed it because we had to leave the next day, but is seeing that, meat distributed to the camps and knowing that, hey, these people, they don't get meat on a regular basis, and that's going to feed their family for a good while. Just having that opportunity to be able to donate that is
100%, Colton. And when we hunt in areas that have any form of cell phone signal, the trackers, and what a lot of people don't understand is the guys that, like Alan has Maplan and can't remember who else, but anyways, even these guys that you see on this shot right here, they live and deal with wild animals around them at all times, and they obviously know what those animals can do to people. And for them to even be saying we need to look after the animals, the hunters are doing a good job, man. As soon as you take the value out of something in Africa, Dave, that is when we see it disappear. And that's the unfortunate thing about it. Why would you have an elephant in a place where you could graze crops? You have to give the people some form of incentive here to make them see a value in a resource that, one, it kills them, and two, is so destructive. So very, very much so.
See the bullet. Shoot again. Shoot.
As a professional hunter, what is the single most important piece of advice you would like to give a first-time safari client who has just booked a safari with you?
My advice to them is do your homework. Do your reading. Read all the old classics. Understand better what you're getting into. Study them. Study the calibers. The books on hunting will teach you so much. You make the right choice of rifles, optics, bullets, and put your mind in the correct frame of mind. Come with an open mind, open for adventure, understand the ethics of the hunt. So yeah, do your homework, do as much reading as you can.
I think you could probably answer that in one word, and that would be preparation. Multifaceted answer, preparation, but the guys who come prepared know a little bit about the country that you're coming to, know a little bit about the safari area you're going into, know a little bit about the game that you're going to be hunting and their habits. Get on the range and shoot your rifle. Know about the bullets that you're going to shoot. There's a number of things which go into preparation, but I think one of the areas where people have a disappointing safari rather than a very fruitful safari is the guys who come prepared versus the guys who come underprepared.
Well, Colton, my friend, this has been a big year for you. You got your buffalo down. You got to go on just a wonderful safari that'll continue to make memories with your dad. But you and your wife, Sophie, added the next generation of the Cohea clan that's going to be doing this one day, and you're going to be in your dad's shoes. You guys had a little baby. How's that going?
Yes, sir. It's going great, Dave. He's about 6 months right now. So in these videos, we were a couple months out from having him. So it's changed my perspective on everything. And I tell Sophie all the time, Sophie's my wife, there's so many things that I didn't realize that my parents did until we had our baby, which is, his name's Wyatt. So once we had Wyatt, all this stuff started making sense. It all, ties together now. I understand all the sacrifices and the love you feel for a child.
Well, listen, boys, that was a great safari, and like I said, it always comes, a good show is usually dependent on the people that are involved in the hunt we went on. You have two great guys like you that shared a great hunt, and we shared it with everybody today, and I'm sure everybody's going to see this, going to enjoy it just as much as I enjoyed being here and kind of get to sit in the back seat and watch you guys do what you do, and you both did it very well. So, fellas, I really appreciate you. Colton, you got in early at work, and you made me get my ass out of bed way earlier than normal, so I can be through with you before the whistle blows at your office. So, all right, boys, we're going to sign off from here. And folks, we always say if you enjoy what we're doing, do me two favors: hit the like and subscribe button, and remember, the Safari Classics TV app is really where the good stuff lives. We've created that app, and it is growing every day. We're trying to dump 30 years of our knowledge into one repository, which is the Safari Classics TV app. And you can sign up on a monthly membership. You can sign up. The best deal is the annual membership, and we're talking $70. It's less than a price of $375 shells. And I'll tell you, we're going to be creating this show. We've got the PH perspective. We're working on, the biggest part of that's going to be called the African experience. It's going to have everything that we think is necessary to have a successful safari career. We're going to share everything that we've known. You're going to be dealing with top professional hunters. We're going to have the greatest guests, greatest action. You're going to have access to about 300 right now tracks across Africa and dark and dangerous episodes. Everything that you're seeing on YouTube is times 10 on the app. So we hope you'll take a look at it. You can go to our website. But until then, I just want to say for the entire crew, we really are working hard on this series, and it's very rewarding to hear the comments that we're getting back from folks like you that enjoy Africa and the safari experience. So until then, we'll see you right here next week on Safari Classics TV.